Welcome back to the chemistry lab. So today we're going to be talking about lab safety, which is the first thing you should always talk about before you are in any lab situation where you're working with chemicals or really any science lab. Okay, each lab is going to have a little bit different specifications for that particular building room as far as where everything's laid out. There's also a lot of principles that are going to carry over no matter which lab you are in. Okay, and these things are very important. I have worked in labs for quite a while now. I worked in my lab at college. I was a lab assistant there, as well as doing my own labs for my classes there. I worked in a chemical testing laboratory for about a little over 2 years, which taught me a lot of things. And then, of course, I've been in charge of this lab for a good while now. So I've seen a lot of labs. I've also seen a fair amount of lab accidents. And I can tell you that they are not fun. And you really want to do your best to make them not happen. And sometimes it's just easy to get this false confidence that says, that's never happened to me, you know, I'm careful, it's not going to happen. It's really easy for things to happen, and nobody means it to, but it does, and we would like to avoid that as much as possible. Okay, but there are some things to do, and if you keep them in your mind, and you keep them in front of you and make sure that safety does take priority when you are in a lab, you should be good to go. Okay, a lot of times, a lot of those accidents that I've seen, or honestly, a lot of them did get like caught. So it's like an accident about to happen is, you know, don't do that. And the accident was averted. It was taken care of, and it never actually happened, which is very good. But a lot of those times where an accident was going to happen was because someone either did not know how to properly use equipment, did not understand the safety regulations, or they knew them and weren't following them. So it's easy to forget, and safety regulations are one of those things that nobody really likes them, and everyone's like, why can't we just do it this way? Well, ask someone who hasn't done it that way and has seen an accident happen, and they might be able to tell you. Okay, so we'll start with the basics, which is protection. So you see I am wearing my full lab coat here. You're not going to get a lab coat at high school level. Sorry, if you want to buy yourself one or something, feel free, but you don't really need it at this level. There are aprons. Okay, so at our lab, each of our lab tables here, left-hand side down the bottom, these are like clear, they are lab aprons. You honestly don't need them a whole lot. If you've got your school uniform on, and that should usually be pretty good. But there's a few labs that will have you pull the aprons out. One of the biggest things you are going to have to do in the chem lab, and probably the first thing everyone thinks of with chemistry lab, is your safety goggles. Safety goggles, they're not sunglasses, despite what a few key YouTubers seem to think. They're not. They're different. In chemistry, they need to have the sidewalls. Okay, you see how the front, you see how they have like a wall around the sides like that? That's important. It's there to shield your eyes. So you put them on, and nobody really likes putting goggles on. Yeah, just nobody likes these things. They're sort of ugly. They kind of make you look funny. And when you're done, you have a rim around your face, so you kind of look a bit like a raccoon because you're going to have lines from your goggles on your face, right? That's okay. It's just part of being a chemist. Is just think of it as like a mark of fame. I used to have this one big lab when I was at college. It was right before chapel, but it was like a 3-hour lab. Okay, so when you're in lab and you're wearing these things for 3 hours, yes, when you're done, you have marks. See, I even got them just that quick, all the way around your face like this. And so I would come into chapel with these like marks just all around my face, and people would be like, "Where were you?" I'm a chemist, I work in the chem lab. Oh, okay. So it's kind of funny, but you do need to wear them. They are your first level of protection. Okay, when you're working with chemicals in particular, it's really things splashing or things that are in the air. So vapors that are in the air that are the most likely to hurt you, and the easiest place for them to hurt you is your eyes. Okay, your eyes are an opening. Your eyes are pretty sensitive and pretty reactive to irritants. And in chemistry, we work with a lot of irritants. If you read chemical safety labels on things, one of the first things they often say is this is an eye and skin irritant. So skin, don't get it on your skin, but then eyes, you really need to be careful. And that's the one that nobody, you're not gonna put something in your eye, but it's easy to happen by accident. That's actually the one that's happened to me the most, is doing something and wasn't even thinking about it, didn't think I needed goggles for that particular activity. And what do you know, I did, and I ended up getting something in my eye. I had to use the eye wash station. It's not pleasant. Okay, it's not fun. It can really hurt. So honestly, almost at all times, you're going to have to be in goggles. Very important, okay? If there's really no chemicals out, then you're fine to not be in goggles. But other than that, you're gonna need to be in them. Even sometimes just boiling water. Like, it's just water. Yeah, it is. But boiling something on a lab bench is a little bit different than boiling it on your stove, where there's like a lid and a pot and it's a little bit farther away from you. It can be right sort of on top of it when it's on your bench. And it's very easy for that to boil and splash into your eyes. And now you have boiling water in your eyes. So much fun. Okay, so watch stuff like that. So that's your first level. And I will say, these are the ones that bother people the most. Okay, here's why. Because the side vision and like the bottom, like if I put my hand here, I can't see it at all. Usually without the goggles, I'd be aware it's here. If it's back here, I cannot see my hand. Like I don't even know it's there. Okay, so it cuts down your side vision and your kind of your peripherals, which can be somewhat annoying, honestly. And you gotta be aware of it because it can be hard to, like, if someone's over here, I may not realize they're there. And so sometimes it's easy to just like turn and bump into that person because you're not used to having your vision reduced. And they can get foggy, especially in Guam. We have super high humidity, right? That's not fun, and they fog up. So a couple tricks for fogging up. You can take a paper towel and roll it up and kind of like, if you can get this off your forehead just a little bit, you don't want to go too far because you don't want anything to splash in, and give it an airspace. That really helps with the fogging. Or if you really need to, then just step away from the table, step out of the range of where you could get splashed by something, take them off for a second, wipe them out with a paper towel, put them back on. But to do that, you need to be away from your table. Okay, anytime you are near open chemicals or anything hot, anything boiling, you must have your goggles on. Kids always do this. That doesn't cut it. Okay, it looks cool, kind of, to have your goggles on your head. But it will not protect you from anything except your forehead, which is usually fine. So there's that. Okay, gloves. You don't actually need gloves for everything. I know a lot of people think you do, but you don't. I do have gloves and we'll use them for quite a few things, but there's some things that are fine on your hands. Almost always need goggles, but not always need gloves. On the gloves. Please note. Okay. Pick the right size. Otherwise you waste the gloves, because a lot of people, you have a very large hand and you try to fit them in a small glove and you never even notice that it said small, and then you're wasting my gloves. Okay, it is kind of expensive to ship them out here and to use them, especially right now with the pandemic going on. It's kind of hard to get your hands on gloves, so don't use more than you need, and get the right size. And if you have like little tiny hands and then you put on the extra large gloves, they're not going to fit. Okay, they're going to be flopping off, which is not good. You want them fairly tight, but not so tight that it's kind of annoying that they're that tight. So something like that. My hands are medium, so if you ever need for size, Miss McNally, how big are your hands? Okay, so that's kind of safety equipment. Yeah, a few other things. All right, big deal in the lab also is clothing, what you're wearing. So you're going to be in your school uniforms if you're here in school, so that's great. Those will work just fine. Hair, though, a lot of girls, if your hair is down, that's not going to work, okay? Especially anything in your face. So hair's hanging long, any strands down, that's not good. It's very easy for your hair to end up in whatever you're working in, even sometimes a ponytail. Like my hair is very long. It's up in a bun today. So, I mean, it's fine that way. But when it's in a ponytail, yes, it's back, but it's very easy, like if I'm working for my ponytail or my braid, to come around the front. And if you're working at your table with chemicals and that happens, it can get right in your chemicals, which is obviously not ideal. So tie your hair back, okay? Even any jewelry, if you have really long, like bracelets, watches, anything that can get into what you're working with, is usually a better idea to just take it off for the time being, like that. Okay, and shoes. Now, I'm a bad example today. I am wearing Zoris. No! Because I'm not actually working with chemicals. But if I'm actually working with chemicals, these are not okay. Do not bring your Zoris to lab. You need to be in actual shoes, which part of your uniform is to be in shoes, so that should be fine. But like on dress down days, it's still important that you're not in shoes, that you're in closed-toed shoes, excuse me, not in like sandals or flip-flops or something. Why? Well, you drop something, okay, you have something you're working with, oh no, it drops, ka-ching, and it breaks. More than likely it's gonna hit your foot. So it's really just a protection from anything that could drop on your foot, either chemical or more than likely broken glass, something boiling, something hot, whatever like that, okay? So yeah, and then just behavior, no food in the lab ever, like ever, okay? No food in the lab. It is against OSHA regulations and can get me kicked out of my own lab. So do not bring food in. During lab, you really should not have, including water bottles, by the way. You can, during a regular class, it's fine. During lab, it's not fine. So leave your water bottles. You're gonna leave, when you come into the lab, you're gonna leave your water bottles and your bags behind that half wall. Okay, that wall kind of like curves around there. So go ahead and leave your bags behind that, and leave your water bottles as well, and just bring your lab notebook and whatever else you need for the actual lab to the table, because you want to really minimize clutter. Okay, you're going to have a lot of stuff out on this lab table. Yes, they're big, but they quickly get a lot of things, and when you have a couple people around them, it's easy to start knocking things off that you don't mean to. Speaking of which, you have your stuff on your table that you're working with. Don't put it on the edge of the table. Okay, and you're like, why would I ever do that? Well, it's easy to do, okay, because I'm working here. And so, I just nicely put it right here like this, or this one, okay? You see how nice and convenient that is to have right there. Well, that is convenient, and if I forget it's there and I do this, that's all it takes to knock that right off the table, or knock it here, and it's gonna roll, it's gonna spill. Super easy to knock things off the table. Trust me, I've done it. So, rule of thumb, you just keep everything kind of in. Okay, that way even if it breaks or something, it's going to be on the table and not rolling onto the floor and on your feet and creating a huge mess. Do that, and then the other thing is aisles. Okay, so the aisles in this lab can get crowded very quickly. You see my bag on the floor? Do not do that. Your bags go back there behind the half wall. They do not go here. Why? Well, if I'm walking over here, it's super easy to just trip, right? Yes, don't do that. And even the chairs, okay? The chairs can move all around. Watch where you're putting the chairs. Try to put them somewhere out of the way, tuck them under the table, or just know where they're at. Don't leave them in somebody else's way, okay? The tables are close. If your table is here, right, but you leave your chair out in the aisle, well, now you're affecting this table. They might bump into it. So really being aware is a huge thing. You're aware of what's to the side of you. You're aware of kind of what's behind you. Where are people? Because you start like backing up and there's a person behind you. Well, on a normal day, that's kind of fine. But if you are carrying something like acid or something hot or glass or whatever, fragile, you might cause them to drop it or something. So really be aware of what's around you, okay? Absolutely no roughhousing, no messing around. I do not mess around in lab. If you are messing around, I will remove you very quickly from the circumstances, okay? And you'll be in trouble. So I'm not messing on lab day, and I'm pretty strict on lab day, okay? It's not a 3 strikes and you're out. You get 1. You get 1 strike. So I catch you with your goggles off when I told you to put them on. If I catch you messing around when you're supposed to be working, if you're having fun and doing tomfoolery and poking somebody, bugging somebody, you're going to be out of that lab in a heartbeat, okay? Lab is a privilege. It is not a right. So you need to make sure that you are behaving in a safe manner or you will be removed. Okay, let's take a look at some other safety features in the lab. This big guy up at the front of my lab is called a chemical hood. Okay, and yes, it's all good in the hood. It really is though, okay? The point of this is if you turn it on here, you hear the fan kick on and the light kicks on. This has a very strong fan up inside of it. Here, I'll let you look at that. So the purpose is that if you have chemicals that might put off any kind of fumes or vapors that you do not want to breathe in, you work in here. So you put your chemicals in here, you can put your hands in, usually you're gonna have gloves on, and then you work inside the hood with whatever it is, and the air is being pulled inside, okay, and nothing will come out. So if you have a strong enough airflow, the air gets pulled in and then goes up and out that vent. And it will not come back out at you. So you can work with more dangerous chemicals in here and still be relatively safe. We won't use that a lot, but there are a few experiences I may tell you to use that. I'll give you further instruction then. This is broken glass disposal over here. By the way, I should be the only one touching that, not you, okay? You never put your hand inside. It's a really good way to get cut. And also chemical poisoning, which is not fun. Fire extinguisher, pretty standard. It is labeled. Something else to note, these are located on each table. There's actually 2 on each table, and then each jet has 2 additional ones, okay? These are propane gas jets. They are for lighting Bunsen burners. They are not toys, and they can be quite dangerous. So when you are sitting at a lab table, when you're in lab, make sure you do not play with these. Some kids will just kind of like start resting their hand on them, and then all of a sudden they're opening them or like trying to put things in here. Do not do that, okay? Leave these alone. They're not toys. And don't put anything in here, because you can actually, like if a pencil point, like kids will like just kind of absent-mindedly poke a pen in here or something. Do not do that. If you do that, you can block that little hole and then actually stopper it, and when you turn the gas on, it may end up being an explosion or the jet won't work or something. Just so you know, these are off when they are perpendicular. Okay, so you have this going this way. When these are perpendicular like this, that is turned off. You can actually go all the way around. That is also off as long as it's perpendicular. This, now the gas is off right now, so don't worry, okay? That is open, it's on. And if the gas is working, you'll hear a little hiss come out and you'll begin to smell it. If you're ever in lab and we're not supposed to be using these and you smell gas, let me know. There is a main shutoff valve here, that is off right now. I typically keep it off. There are also shutoff valves underneath each and every one of the tables. There's like a personal shutoff valve. But you really should not be smelling gas unless we're in a lab where we're using Bunsen burners. Okay, so I want to go ahead and show you how to actually light a Bunsen burner. This is a Bunsen burner here. You have a burner connected to a flexible metal rubber tube, okay? And so first thing to do is you want to plug it into your gas jet here. You just take this and push it on, put some force into it, okay? Push it on so it's nice and tight. You do not want any gas leaking out here. Check that this part is also tight. Don't mess with these adjustments. Most of your burners are going to be pretty set to go. If it's like this, where it's like it doesn't want to stand up, just take it and kind of twist it here. Make sure it's going to stand flat. And you want to position your burner either like in here or here, not really close to the edge of your table, not way out here where you can hit it or knock it, but in towards the center. Sometimes you'll have a ring stand that you position over it, but for now I don't. Okay, on the bottom, this can swivel, and that actually controls the amount of oxygen. Typically just leave these alone, they should be fine already. This screw at the bottom you can turn, and that will adjust the amount of gas. Really do not touch these unless you light your burner and notice there really is an issue, and then I would really rather you call me and I can show you how to adjust it, okay? Because you can really get into trouble if you adjust these. You get really huge flame. It can be dangerous. So keep in mind this is going to be open flame. This is a lighter, all right? We call it a sparker in chemistry. And so this is a piece of flint and a piece of steel, and you scrape them against each other like this, and that will light it. Now something to note, if you just kind of gently scrape, a lot of times they won't spark. You need to give it some force. So I'll actually take and sort of like push up, kind of back on that one. And you can see that that's sparking more. It is a real spark. It's not terribly hot, but it's a spark, okay? So be careful, watch what you're doing. So how you should light these is you're gonna turn this on, and then you're gonna spark and like directly on top of it. Not over here, not way up here, almost like a little hat, okay? Don't touch it, but right above that gas. And you wanna do it kind of quickly. So you're gonna turn this on, okay? You should hear a little hissing, and bam, first try, it's lit, guys. And turn that on, okay? Now this is open flame, the flame goes up here, it is very hot. So as soon as this is on, you really wanna watch what you're doing. Make sure you keep your hair away from it, keep everything else away from it, stuff like that. A few things to note. These are a little hard to get the hang of on your first try. If you are doing this and you're like, and you can't get it to work, turn it off and wait a second, okay? To turn a Bunsen burner off, you just take this, just like that. Okay, you'll hear it kind of go out like that. So if you are doing this, and nothing is happening, I want you to turn it off, about 5 seconds. Okay, so if you turn that on, and 5 seconds later you cannot get it lit, turn it off. Why? As soon as this is on, there is gas escaping into the room. And it will go out in the cloud, right? Gas expands. So if you suddenly, you've been like on for like 10 seconds, and you suddenly light that, it actually can light and kind of like a little like mini explosion here in a big area. And if your face is anywhere close to that, I've seen people literally singe their eyebrows off doing that. Okay, they're like, it won't light, poof, and up it goes in their face. So you clearly do not want that to happen. Keep your face away. Don't look over into it when that gas is on. Nothing like that. All right, so if you can't get it lit, just turn it off. If you wait about 10 seconds for the gas to spread out, you can try again. If it's really not working, go ahead and use either a match or a lighter. I can get you these in the lab. A lighter, you know, is pretty simple. Just light it. The match, if you're going to do it with this, you do not want to light this directly into the gas because, again, it can kind of go out and explode. So what you do with a match is you light it, and then it's lit, and you just bring it up just like that. So you don't like bring it into here because your hand is going to be close to that flame. Okay? So you light it from the bottom. So you light your match here, and then you bring it up just like that. And if there's gas there, it will light. It's not going to take very long at all. Okay? Gas is highly flammable. But you really should, a good chemist can light a Bunsen from one of these. Okay, so we'll do it again. So you turn it on, and then right on top, bam, just like that, and it's lit. Okay, that is how you light a Bunsen burner. All right, so a couple of final tips from me about just how to make sure you're staying safe and things go as planned. During lab, on this white shelf back here, I'm fixing the fish tank, so excuse the mess, but on that white shelf in the background, that's where all the chemicals will be when you start your lab, and that's where they need to go when you're finished, okay? So basically, always put things back where you found it. If you get things out of your drawer system, inside the door, there is a schematic that tells you where everything goes. All right, so pay attention to where you got it from. That's where it needs to go back. So if you got your pie pump out of this drawer, don't go putting it back, you know, in that drawer. Make sure it goes back in the right spot. That will really help. If you, this cabinet back here with the dinosaur sign, that is the glassware cabinet. All right, so let's show you inside. If you get something out of the glassware cabinet, make sure you put it back in. Okay, so we got beakers here and here. You have Erlenmeyer flasks and some other stuff. That's probably mostly what you'll use. Over here, those are graduated cylinders, stirring rods, measuring spoons, volumetric flasks, you know, whatever. And then with chemicals, all right, there may be more than one lab going on at a time. So I might have a chemistry lab and an AP Chem lab or an advanced chem lab, and they might be different, but the chemicals may be similar. Check your chemicals carefully. This is hydrochloric acid solution. Notice it says, my camera will focus on it, 3 molar. 3 molar, that's a concentration that's different than 2 molar. That's different than 0.2 molar. That's different than 1 molar, all right? So pay attention. Things like this. This is potassium chloride. Potassium chloride is different than potassium chlorate or different than sodium chloride. Make sure you have the right chemical. It'll mess up your experiment, and chemicals are expensive. They are difficult to ship out here, and you can definitely be wasting them and end up with messes that you did not intend, okay? So really pay attention. And 2 last things with that would be make sure that you listen to instructions. So I will try very hard to not stop you in the middle of a lab. Once you get going and get started, I don't like to stop your momentum and call everybody together, but if I ever do, it's going to be pretty important, right? I'm going to try my best to give you information up front, but if it's important enough that I'm going to stop the whole lab and tell everybody, then make sure you stop what you're doing and you listen to me and then go back to work. It's usually going to be something safety or about chemical or something that maybe I forgot or that came up or that isn't going well. Okay, and then second thing is read your lab manual, and that might sound really simple. It is amazing how many students come into my lab and have not read the lab before they come. I usually give you the lab the day before, if not earlier. You should have it, you should be able to read it. And yeah, that's important, okay? Because if you come not reading the lab, there may be safety instructions in there. It will tell you what to mix, when, where, and how. Put these 2 together, how much, when. It will save you a ton of time. And when you only have 45 minutes to get a lab done, that's not that much time. It's easy to run out of time. And I may or may not give you more time, all right? We may not have the next class, we may just have that class. So All right, so we've gone through a lot of safety procedures and just general how the lab runs, how to do things, how to work through things. But unfortunately, in life, sometimes accidents do happen. And if you follow safety procedures and protocol, it's a lot less likely to happen, but there's always that possibility. So what do you do if an accident happens? Well, the most common lab accidents are minor cuts and burns. I've gotten many. Try to avoid them, but they're usually not terribly bad. You get a little cut on your finger, maybe you get a really minor burn or something like that, and we'll take care of those either with the nurse or with a first aid kit. I do a first aid kit in the lab. Basically though, big rule is any kind of accident that happens, you need to let me know, and need to let me know immediately. Okay, even if it's just a little, oh, it's just a little cut, oh, it's just a little scrape, whatever. I need to know just to make sure it's not worse, and so that I know what chemical, if there was a chemical involved, what chemical was it, did it get on you, all those sorts of things. Okay, so first thing you do is you tell me, and I'll come over and then I'll give you instructions from there. Broken glass, by the way, don't worry about it too much, okay? Glass breaks, it's just a fact of life. And when you use it as much as you use it in a chem lab, you will break some glass. Try not to, okay? And it can be really bad, because if that has your experiment in it, then you gotta start over, which is no fun. So try not to break the glassware, but if it does happen, some students are so scared, like, oh no, I broke it, I'm in trouble. You're not in trouble if you broke something. If you broke it on purpose, you might be. I'm assuming you won't do that, all right? But if it's just an accident, something accidentally broke, let me know, okay? I will help you clean it up. You should not be cleaning up broken glassware. I clean up broken glassware, just because I don't want anybody getting cut, all right? Even if you do it in your own house, you let me do it in the lab, and so I'll come over and get that cleaned up for you, and make sure you're not hurt, and that any chemicals that spilled get cleaned up in the proper way. There's a couple different ways to clean up chemicals, but basically you just need to tell me, and I will then show you what to do from there. Some of them it's just water, some of them soap, some of them you actually need an absorbent or something to get rid of it. Okay, so it's broken glass, cuts, scrapes, minor burns. Anything bigger than that, we do have some safety features for, and let me show you the. Okay, so this back corner of the lab is the safety shower. Very important spot. It's also the sink where you can wash your dishes. Okay, this is a drying rack, so there is soap here. And when you're rinsing lab dishes, it's pretty much like washing dishes at home. Just try to make sure you're not going to break anything. I keep scrubbies. These are really great for washing beakers or the outsides of anything. Just put a little soap, a little water, wash them out. Really big deal with lab glassware is you really need to wash the soap off. So rinse them multiple times. I know this looks scary. It's just discolored. It's fine. It's not that bad. And then this is a drying rack. If you've got a beaker or something, it would hang like that, and then it can drip dry. If you have small things, they can go in here, like this stopper, to dry. These are scrubbies. These are for test tubes. So you can just pull one of these off, get a little soap on it, get some water, and that can go like up and down in a test tube or an Erlenmeyer to clean that out. Again, just make sure you really wash the soap out. This is your safety shower. Okay, and this is an eye wash station. So if you ever get a chemical in your eye, and by the way, the lab accidents that I've had to use eye wash stations multiple times. Okay, got something in my eye somehow. I got some stories to tell you if you ever want to hear them. But that's what this is for. It's very helpful. Now, it is going to be a little rough. Okay, so how do you use it? Well, this here, there are these caps that go on them, but they may not be on. Okay, so take those off, and then literally you just push it, and it puts out quite a bit of water to go down and drain down there. Okay, and actually, and you just turn that off that way. To use it, you put your face like right over it, and actually you're gonna need to hold your eyes open. If you have a chemical in your eye, it is very important to get that chemical out and get it out quickly, okay? So if you ever feel something go into your eye, it starts to burn or itch or scratch or something, get over here and do it. You don't even have to wait for me. Time is of the essence. And actually you're gonna wanna let your eyes flush for a while. Now, having used these before, I can tell you they're not actually comfortable, all right? It's not like it feels good. You have water rushing over your eyes. But it's going to feel a whole lot better than whatever burn you've got going on. So, you know, Lord willing, I've never had a student who's had to use one of these yet, except for like, I think dirt in their eye or something, but it wasn't a chemical. I've had to use them a couple times. So yeah, put your face over it and actually hold your eyeballs open and just hold them straight over that as much as you can take. You can blink if you need to, but you're trying to just flush that chemical out of your eye. Okay? And then big bad guy up here, this is the safety shower. You pull the triangle down, and I'm not gonna do it because I only have one hand and it gets the whole place wet. Like that, it puts out so much water. If you pull that down, this whole shower area gets soaked. And this, my friends, is what I call the awkward shower, because you really don't need the shower if you're burning, so if you're actually on fire, hopefully that doesn't happen, or if you get a caustic chemical, abrasive chemical, over like a large part of your body, especially your body trunk or your head, okay, or your legs, that's gonna be safety shower. And if that ever happens, I pray that it does not. And honestly, most chemicals they give you shouldn't really need this, but just in case, okay, this is where you run, and actually you need to completely strip. When you use a safety shower, you're supposed to like completely strip and get in the shower. And again, time is of the essence. You wanna get in there as quick as you want. And you're like, Miss McNally, this is a Christian school. Why would I do that? I know, it's weird, right? That's why I call it the awkward shower. I just want to point out, you have a curtain. You know, you have a curtain. So you can just, you know, hide, and I will get all the other students out of the lab and find someone to help you and make sure you're not dying. Also, back to the curtain thing, I said you have a curtain. The showers that I had in the college lab, they did not have a curtain. So they were like extra doubly awkward. So you just be thankful for that curtain, okay? If you have a chemical over a large part of your body, clothing can actually hold that chemical like onto your skin. And so if it's burning you, if it's an acid or something like that, or a really strong base, or something where it's gonna burn your skin, actually having the clothing on is going to make it a lot worse, okay? So that's why, even though it's awkward, they say completely strip when you're gonna run into the shower. And it's kind of one of those, if you've got a bad enough chemical on you, at that point, you're not gonna care, okay? You're just not gonna care. You're just gonna get in the shower, and make it happen. As I said, I will get everybody else out and you will be okay. But that, being a little bit awkward, is better than a hospital, okay? It's better than having burned for the rest of your life. So do it with any kind of chemical. Time is the critical factor. The quicker you can get in there, the better. No, I've never had to use one. I pray that you never do. You really shouldn't. But just in case, I mean, if it's something that gets like just on your hand, you don't have to like go jumping in the shower for that, all right? You just stick your whole hand. That's a pretty big sink. Just stick your hand in the sink, even your whole arm or something like that. But if it's over a big part of your body, that's what that's for. And last but not least, I know you want to see this. So I'm not going to stand in it because it will really get me wet. Okay, that is what happens when you turn the shower on. I'm getting wet all the way back here. So, yeah, it does in fact work. I got to safety test it every year anyway. Figured I might as well do it now. So, that's lab safety. Stay safe, guys.